And I see you're in. Recording and transcription. Let everyone know they're being recorded. There you go. Hi, Chris. There you go. Hello. Yeah, I mean, I'm on Betty, so I presume I am recording the meeting. Is that correct? Okay. Okay.
When I got the, by the way, first off, are the, Mr. Lyon?
Yeah, it's back. I see it. Okay, cool.
And I've got, obviously, it's not in a great position to support, but hopefully we'll. Yeah, let me call you back because I want to start getting binders out and so forth. It's easier if I have 2 minutes to talk to you. So if I need you, I'll be back in touch. All right, bye. So you did, you presumably heard, but I don't have those binders. They're downstairs. But I'll go get them.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Charlita is not coming today.
God.
Tell me about it. She had some sort of health issue. She needs to.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, I mean, it's just helping everybody with food. Oh, okay.
Okay, let's see. Down a little bit. Yeah, she texted me yesterday morning.
Yeah, how are you? Well, I got a good food, so. I'm down at the State House, so. Okay, yeah, I was just. Okay, that's okay, I understand.
Good morning, Mr. Corky. How are you?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Beautiful drive
Let me-
down this morning.
Go ahead.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'll call.
Yeah, but you know,
Okay.
okay, that way for a while. Now.
Hey, John, how you doing? Good, good.
Yeah, it's time.
I told you, it's either a tie and no suit jacket or a suit jacket and no
All
tie.
right.
We obviously can't overwhelm him. Jim Jordan.
I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say it.
I'll have to keep that in mind. he needs at some point along the line.
Okay. You made good time.
Yeah, I got on, I was
It's a beautiful day.
up early and ready to roll. I was like, well,
Love to see all the peak colors.
I would have stopped and seen my daughter, but she was already in a meeting, so.
Gotcha. She's down, is she down?
She is a project manager for Signify Health, which really basically it sets up aftercare with patients in the hospital. So they're out of Dallas, but they have locations all around the country, and she's all remote, so she works from home.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, so if we have going on location, she'll come out of our house. She can work from home.
Well, that's good. How many kids you have?
Just the one.
Just one daughter?
She's one getting, she gets married. She hadn't set a date, but we're figuring it'll be either sometime next year or in the spring of 25.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have two daughters, so not married yet. They're holding that off. I need a roof.
How old are they?
26 and 23.
Yeah.
I didn't have kids, I was in my 40s.
Oh, well, Alexa just turned 28.
Didn't want to rush, huh?
No, we were trying to, my wife and I were trying to break the cycle of poverty. And my wife was going to law school at night, so it was like,
It's a little this way, a little bit, that you have in fact, but hopefully.
Gets that person in. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So far, things are going to work out. Something's got to screw up here shortly, though.
you got that all hooked up?
I believe so.
That's
You
great.
talked to Chris this morning?
Yeah, I was
How's he
speaking
feeling?
with him. He's feeling fine. When he called me on Monday, he sounded like death warmed over. And then Betty came in the office, and she sounded like death warmed over. Yeah, the funny part was, I'm in my office, Betty's at her desk, and there were various times when it's, kind of yell out to her, just say whatever, not a big deal. What did you say? My ears, I can't hear you. So I'd have to repeat it and yell it again. So, but then I called Chris and I talked on Tuesday morning, and he sounded fine. He sounded fine. He said, I'm feeling great. He said, unfortunately now, his wife, Andrea, and his son Leo, who's the kindergartner, they were feeling really bad. And this was at about 8:30, somewhere around there, when we would normally reach out to each other. I said, all right, we'll take care of them.
Right.
We'll deal with it, no big deal. Then he called me back a little later and said, his wife had taken a COVID test and had it. And she said, you should take it, you gotta take it. So he did, he had it. I said, okay, you're out then for a
Yeah,
while.
well, I'm glad he took it.
Yeah, you're out for a while.
Yeah, once it hits the household.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has he had COVID before?
I think he's had it one other time. Yeah, I think he's had it one other time. So, hey, whatever. Betty still sounded like death warmed over. On Tuesday,
And Chris is young.
she sounds better now.
Good.
Yeah,
So David, you had it not too long ago, right?
Yeah, and it hits me real bad. Last year was worse, this year was pretty bad, but not as bad. Yeah, so we did a wedding in Seattle, and everybody stayed at the Airbnb.
I've had it a couple
That's what
times.
happens.
And only one time really did I feel just really lethargic. I just really felt tired. But by the next day,
I only had it once, but it was really just a sore throat for a day and a half. No fever, no anything else.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
See, the first time I got a really high grade fever.
Did you?
Yeah, my whole body was just, I was wiped out for almost 2 weeks.
Wow.
The second time was not as bad, but it was a good week, and you're lethargic again for a couple days.
Yeah,
It'll be fine.
I had that experience after I had my second COVID shot. I was like, wow. I mean, I had fever, I had chills, I had aches. It wasn't long lasting, but he was like, this is not fun.
I need to get my
Yeah,
the more recent COVID
and
shot.
I got mine.
I'll be back.
I don't know if it'll help or not. I got it. I have them all.
Oh, he's spreading us out because,
Well, Charlita isn't gonna be here,
oh no,
so that's fine. Give her out well.
I'm putting her over there, so. Plus we don't have Chris.
Yeah, we don't have Chris, we don't have Charlita. Who's the guy that takes your really spot?
Steven, so.
Steven. That's okay, Steven. A lot of Stevens. Yeah, he's got him on here, so. Maybe.
Did you see Dan's on the agenda?
No,
Big fun.
no,
Can't have a response. I think he's lost his mind.
yeah, I'm not surprised. I didn't go through that. I looked real quick and I'm like, I'm trying to, why are we doing all this? I mean, household thing.
That's a question I have. I tried to start reading that last time.
I just looked at it and I was like,
That'll
no.
be a weekend thing.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I just, I was, I gotta work on this thing. I can forever improve everything. You know, it's like,
Well, when I saw most of those for next week.
yeah, that's why I said I'll look.
Hey, when is the schedule for next year come out?
He'll put something out, he'll ask, I think maybe the end of November, December, he will ask us, or maybe earlier, if we have anything planned for next year, like dates to stay away from. And then he tries to set something up. So like if you know you have a family vacation or a cruise or whatever, you know, he'll try to stay away from all those dates.
Hopefully I'll have my daughter's wedding by then. They haven't picked a date yet, so.
Well, it is what it is. You mean,
No, usually, I mean, with the way I am, we don't, I don't plan anything.
yeah, we don't,
We don't do family vacations. My wife does her, she has like 5 things she does with family, her
Yeah.
family, and it's just her and the girls.
Right. Yeah, my wife and I do that. She's got a vacation she does with her sister, and then takes a week. They always go down to, how they go. But, I can't even think of it. It's in Florida. It's, like John's Pass down there. God, it's like anyway, it's like Tampa, St. Pete is what it is. And then, I always typically go somewhere with the boys with the golf thing.
Yeah.
Which
I hope to do more golf next year.
Yeah, which I'm doing in November. We got,
Myrtle Beach,
no, we're going down to Orlando. There's 8 of us, and one of the guys used to work, we got everybody worked together at some point for ASME. So this is like an ASME deal. And the one guy who was the, let's say second in charge, he was the chief of staff for Lee Saunders, Steve Fontazzo, he's got timeshares. So he's got like these 2, I don't know how he does it, there's 2 timeshares he has here in Orlando. We don't have to pay for anything. They hold like at least 4 people, 2 baths, you know, bedroom, and we're going down for a week to play golf, so. And all you gotta pay for is the flight and golf. I'm like, yeah, we're in. Nice to
that's
see
the way to
you.
do it.
Yeah, I don't know how he does that deal, but he's able to do it. Where
Was he high up with Lee?
He was like,
No, I look,
his right arm.
I look at Randy and all the upper echelon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thinking,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
my buddy, he just bought it's in Ohio. He grew up in Columbus, but he's out further south.
Good morning, how are you?
He's like
Good, how you-
80 acre farm.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How big?
80 acres.
I mean,
And he actually bought, it's a ranch, it had a name
Yeah, I mean, these guys are making it up, but he had close to 40 years. He's got to be.
Yeah.
You know, just an entire. Yeah, I mean, so I'm like, okay. And, you
Is
know,
this set up?
I don't know that it's running, you'd have to ask Mr. Higgs. But I don't think he has it up. Yeah, so anyway, we're going, the week, we're flying in on the 4th and, of November. And we go through the,
So you won't, will you miss?
I won't miss anything. It's,
We got 3 in there.
yeah, they always do one before the election. That's why we got to have one next week. He always sets it up.
I mean, for me, it's fine. As long as the weather
Yeah.
is okay, I don't mind. And then, what they're calling for this winter, you know, I don't know if the weather will be worse in May than it is in February, who knows?
Well, you know, if it's, I have a simple suggestion for you. When it's bad, just call and say it's bad. Don't kill yourself. You know,
I'll either do that, or if I know it's when, like, if they call for bad weather on a Thursday, I'm done on a Wednesday.
oh, okay.
I don't mind. Even if I spend 2 nights out, I'll go out with my daughter and I'll,
So you have things to do.
yeah, I'd probably stay, if, I know the weather's gonna be bad on St. Jude's, I'd probably stay at, what's the hotel? I love it. It's the one the Ohio State football team stays at, the Blackwell.
Oh, yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's a union hotel. It's-
Well, we used to have AFL
Yeah.
events there. That is a nice hotel.
And really, the price of hotels nowadays, they're all outrageous.
No, I know.
Except the ship. That's a dumb
Oh,
I mean, for an overnight, I'd stay there again, but
well, they should, I mean, they should pick that up for you.
I'm
Well, I was out of town. He had asked, and I was like, I can't keep doing it. I think he wanted to do it yesterday.
Yeah.
It was up and out. And we go to help my sister and stuff, it was planned.
If I know somebody who goes, damn, I might just help them push it together. You know?
You should, yeah, I mean, we almost have to recuse ourselves.
I think I have,
Yeah,
because I'm too close to it.
yeah. I think you would. I don't know if I do, I mean, I know him, but I don't know him that well. But yeah, he's got other issues, right? Is what I've been told. Right? And it would lend itself to that, just given, when you look at it, it's like, yeah, he probably does.
Since he sent that out, should I mention that today or just wait till next week?
No, I tell him,
Okay.
I tell him.
No, at the meeting or just him?
I'll just tell him that. I mean, you can review that or just call him. But I've had to accuse myself probably 4 different times. I actually had a staff rep that was down here.
Now, do you know, was Anthony Caldwell, was he one of yours or was he SEI?
He was SES. So I was gonna mention that I had done business with him, but I had talked to him about that. I said, well, he says, can you make an objective decision? I said, well, yeah. I said, I mean, quite frankly, I'm almost on the other side because he should know more.
Well, he should.
I mean, given what he,
It was kind of like last.
yeah,
The other kids, like,
yeah, I mean, because he was high out, but I saw, he sent the stuff out for $50 fine, and appropriate. I haven't seen him, I mean, we would be looking near Ohio meetings, Byron meetings with Becky or something, we'd be there and there. So, I mean, I know, but we're not friendly.
I
mean-
would say,
We're not friends, I should say.
you probably have a better relationship. I have a positive relationship with Becky.
Did you?
Oh, all over.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can understand. This guy should be battles.
Well, I know Cleveland Heights is on next week. Their teachers, and I know all of them, but they've been fighting.
Well, right.
You know, it isn't hard to make a judgment.
I mean, it's the same thing when you see these firefighters.
Yeah.
They do their own thing, you know. Like our stuff all ran through the headquarters, all the politics and the money. But these guys are autonomous and they pick their own people, and half the time they don't know how to fill out forms.
Yeah,
You see a lot of them up here.
She, right after she was secretary, we hired Jennifer Bruner. She did kind of a
Yeah.
in-service with us and our staff and all that, on code problems and all that. And they were real helpful, I think.
Oh, yeah. She's tough.
And she actually gave us some opinions so we could share with other folks or something like that. So that was,
Yeah, I think she did that. I know she did it for us.
so you're out next is it next week?
Yes.
Is it business or pleasure?
I'm actually working, but it's like a fun working.
Oh,
So
that's
it's-
good.
Yeah. I don't know, I have this one that's actually,
That might be Phil. He didn't have a sign.
Yeah, I was kind of taking over some of your space, just getting stuff out of my,
He was just gonna do a sign and then.
I was like, wait a minute. I thought maybe I was supposed to start taking notes.
well.
I'm not going to, by the way.
If you're so inclined.
Oh, is that for us?
Yeah, I believe it is. Did you want us just to do this here?
Or is it for the people that are-
Just to sign in, or are you doing?
I'm doing it right
You're
here.
doing a sheet, so.
I'm doing one right now.
He gets the keys.
He's just trying to see if we're awake. So,
So where do you come from, Natasha, when you drive in here?
near Lima,
So how far of a drive?
it takes me, it's 63 miles, so it takes me a little over.
Still dry, you know. Beautiful. 71 was just. I
I
mean,
said that it was not
you know, and I hit it at a time when the sunrise was just hitting. I didn't-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
Oh, geez.
Well, my wife and I are going on a short trip Monday
Oh, nice.
to Hermitage, PA.
Oh,
Yeah. Have you ever been to Frankenmuth?
I have never been to Frankenmuth.
My wife is when it comes to Christmas. So this is a Christmas film, so
Oh, cool.
Oh, it is?
I'll enjoy a bit of it, but it's,
This is in Franklin?
no, we went last year to Franklin. This is in
Oh,
Hermitage, PA. Probably a little over an hour.
Oh, that's all?
It's not that bad.
Hi, Sandy. Thank you.
morning. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you, Lisa?
Just, I mean, it's an hour drive, so we'll just go there. So.
Okay, cool.
And I'll start my homework. This over here.
Wild.
That would be wild. That's my name.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. All that.
List.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in, Asheville. The trees.
Asheville?
The
That's,
trees are gonna be so amazing.
Oh, yeah. That's
I cannot wait.
crowded.
Yeah,
that's where, that's one of the places we want to go.
I'm excited. I haven't been there. I used to live in-
Flying.
I'm flying, yeah. So I used to live in South Carolina, and so, but that
Oh,
was,
you did?
yeah, only for a little while. I worked for Tommy Hilfiger,
Okay.
and so I was out of South Carolina, and we had like, our region was, up through like Raleigh and Charlotte, and Asheville was part of it, and so one of the girls that lived there, we would just go up and, hang out. It's pretty,
Yeah.
and I haven't been there in a long time, so,
That's on the list for next year.
yeah. Is this mine?
Let go, let go.
Are you gonna give me a second? I need a meeting to adjourn. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so I'm giving you a secret to give them.
It's not a secret at all.
Not a problem. Not really.
How's Chris's family doing? Do they?
You know what, I was with Ben Boss this morning in terms of, I didn't ask him how they're doing this morning, when I talked to them yesterday, they were a little bit better, but not much.
All miserable?
Yep. He is sounding fine. You know, when I talked to him, I mean, he was really sounding bad on Monday, but then when I talked to him Tuesday morning, he was sounding fine, he said, families.
So both the boys have it?
Well, he's assuming that, the little one has it, only because he said he's kind of not feeling, not apparently feeling real great.
Right.
But he's feeling good. He's feeling good. Yesterday. Well,
Do you want me to sign one or the one that you want me to?
you can just sign that one.
Okay.
What, you're assuming we're going to pass them? You never know.
Well,
They actually got through Mile Highs this week without any
I gave them some,
suggested changes.
can't say what I gave them, but I told them.
He was crediting.
I said it's
He
obvious.
wasn't crediting me.
I said it's
I know that
obvious
much.
Betty's back because you don't have any mistakes in the minutes. So
See?
the least that I found.
See what I get? See what I get?
I've signed these just in, as a proactive, no one's gonna work moment. Well, I believe in you. Oh, come on, are you kidding? Oh, I know, it's not letting me connect anything. What's the?
Oh, for the, electric power, yeah, there. But yours is a little different.
I know, and I got a different, it's Dell, but
What you're looking for is obviously the internet stuff and just age, I guess, whatever.
here's my little cog. My space lease project.
Oh, I use it. My kids.
Your kids didn't watch it? How much is it watching here now? Right, that's stupid.
I think it might be that.
That's my,
Oh, it's very.
yeah, like there's usually like a little
That's
space.
what
Yeah,
the
that's
globe thingy is what I
That's
look
my
for.
internet. Okay, hold on.
It's available. There you go.
Okay.
Well, your Wi-Fi is on. There you
There we
go.
go.
Oh, HGS. Once you select.
Okay, get out there.
O, no, O, capital O, high O. G-U-S-T. Yes. When you go to your password, it is Ohio, the heart of it all, but it's capital O.
No.
And then it's, Ohio, the heart of it all, with no spaces.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, don't be a jerk.
No, you're not.
There you go, you're on.
Say that, see, give me some of that.
There you go. Nice work.
Well,
Impressive.
usually I have big fat fingers and they,
Oh,
no, they never,
when I got the computer on, the video, I logged on for Betty's, it was on right here. But it's like, I think I had to make 3 or 4 connections on Ohio, the heart of it all. Start typing across and you know,
I know you're right.
start adding a space
In the
and then.
forum, yeah.
There you are. There you are, Mr. Ritter. Okay. Should we get a song stuck in your head?
Oh, God, all the time.
Where are people?
The parking garage was open today, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure was. They decided the weather was.
Just I can't keep track of it. I can't keep track of it. General Assembly's schedule anymore.
Just because it's so close to election day or something.
That's probably true.
No, it's
I
not.
mean,
They don't have. their race.
there's no, yeah, there.
Oh, I think there's you one there. That's just not it.
Oh my God, the song needs to get out of my head.
Which one is it?
I will tell you because it's so stupid. It's literally, it's
On
Selena.
the way down, is that why?
Yes, it was the last thing I heard before I went in the parking garage and everything went dark. It's a Selena Gomez song and I absolutely
not good.
detest the song and I love her, but I think she's a cute little girl, but I'm like, oh my God, it's the dumbest song ever. And it's just on repeat in my brain.
Once you start breaking out the song, we'll understand why.
Well, Grace, my husband makes fun of me all the time because I do sing stuff. I'll be like, I need a hamburger. And like if I order food like at a restaurant, I'm like, I need the French fries. He said, I do. I do. I just, I mean, he gets so embarrassed. I'm like, I don't know what to say. Okay, you know? So I might break into song. I don't know. If I do, I apologize in advance.
He's probably pretty good background singers.
Not me.
Just a little snap, just a little snap.
You go, girl.
That's all my husband says, go, get out, stop.
Mhm. When saw, it was morning.
Good, Steve, all right. Okay, good.
Anything, please.
No, you're good. Okay.
You're there.
Move Ernie down.
Understood. I know, we're moving things around a little bit. These are the cases there.
Right.
I meant the full names, put them on the page of the.
Oh, well, that was gonna be body of the.
Yeah, it's not, I just like to include.
I know. So it's these. No, it's. Okay.
And then the other one, and then those, you know, that's the one I've already made the decision. I already made the decision on. And I'm willing to discuss it, it's not a problem.
Sure.
I understand where it's coming from, but, you know, and I don't like to make. I wasn't overjoyed about making a decision, but it was just one of those things that was ordered that. It was all former treasurer. Good morning.
Good morning.
Already we threw it. You're over on the other side.
Oh,
You got moved.
Did we get in trouble?
Interesting.
You
You
did.
did?
Just did 2 minutes. You're in the same spot, so it's obviously not you.
Ernie, it's you, not us. You know, they would say it's me, not you.
I know, I got it. Usually it's me.
But
I'm used to
Christina's
that.
like, what?
Oh, by the way, Mr. Based on our conversation the other day, did you notice on the updates where Mr. Caldwell is?
I did.
Yeah. I called the board, he actually did file, he actually then came in.
He said that.
Oh, I'm fine, how are you? I'm sorry.
I did have.
No, he came into the office late Tuesday.
Oh,
he did.
Response.
And then we did it.
So,
Did you hunt him down for the
We'll do a
auditor?
quick change.
no, he, one of the things that he did indicate though in his response was, move change residences, didn't necessarily get any notice right away, blah, blah, blah.
No, no, the next is the week after.
So he submitted a
So I'm gonna be gone the
response.
first and the sixth,
I saw the
then
accident.
I'm going the ninth.
With his response, all he did was say, yeah, I did this, I did this.
No, not till the ninth.
This, they didn't tell me.
I do love the.
He didn't give me any information on the specific file.
No, I'm
or
gonna,
that. He didn't.
my husband's cousin.
But I'd already talked with the
He's really good friend with the lady who
Over
owns
in
Washington
Ken's
Teach.
board.
Then they do.
Oh.
They said, oh, yeah, he
So it's
filed,
Asheville, North Carolina.
whatever date I have on the update, he got sent along to you guys.
Okay.
Is the date, he
No, actually.
did come into compliance.
I had a friend, like,
Yeah.
I used to live in North
I know they
Carolina.
put that in the order.
Yeah,
No, part of
well, I
our
noticed
region,
that
gal
last
had,
night.
Like,
Yep.
was married.
Well,
You guys here for a particular
It's
case?
her, but then
This
we
is
did
nothing we
we
have.
did a retreat there.
Oh,
And,
okay.
We see the River Park in, which is amazing.
Just wondering, because if we would, we'd address your, address your matter.
Foliage, it's so beautiful. But we're saying people we're this way, so. But it's work, but yeah, very cool. Yeah, but I'm going to the beach next week, I'm going to my husband's son or something. All right, you want to start?
We'll get started.
Okay, did you take my son? I gave it to you.
I may handle it because we've got so much stuff here that I'm back and forth on.
No, I sent it over there because I thought you were gonna make notes, but,
Yeah.
okay.
No,
At this time, it's 10:07, I would like to call the October 26th, 2023 meeting of the Ohio Elections Commission to order. Mr. Wood, will you please take the roll?
So Mr. Knight,
Here.
Mr. Carroll, right, Mr. Lyle,
Present.
Ms. Hagan,
Present.
Mr. Fulton, President, Chair Hoffman. All members are present.
Sorry, I'm not used to calling first. It caught me off guard. I'm used to being like third or fourth.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that.
We're just changing up everything.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to excuse Vice Chair Tavares?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next item on the agenda would be approval of the October 12th, 2023 minutes. Do we have a motion? Second. We have a motion on the floor. It's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. Pass.
Is that the one you said?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Okay.
Just making sure that the one passed around. Okay. Thank you very
All
much,
right.
everybody.
So, is this what we were gonna discuss first, or are we?
No, what, yeah, I mean, well, not that one,
Okay.
you know, but why don't we deal with the ones that I sent along? And I apologize to everybody, I intended to print out the little email that I sent to you guys late last evening that I highlighted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cases, and then an additional 2 that are kind of in a different category. That all came out of Cuyahoga County, and I've gotten in conversation with the staff at Cuyahoga County Board. These are folks that have been long-time miscreants, shall we say, for not filing campaign finance reports. And in discussing these matters with the board, you know, the staff members, at least in the campaign finance area, are more or less desirous of having, you know, getting these behind. If you look at the ICWs that, you know, have all been circulated, you guys, needless to say, there's more than one referral. And I'm not talking about, you know, dismissing or calling for termination for anybody that has, you know, only 1 or 2 times. Oftentimes it takes sometimes more than that. But these are ones that have gone on for quite some time. And I just wanted to bring them to your attention. Open the conversation here. You know, Mr. Knight responded to my email and indicated he would like to address these first because it may impact what he might do on some other cases. I'm prepared to speak further about any of them that you would like me to discuss, particularly the 2 regarding the triplet case that's certainly been outstanding for a long time, which I got into an agreement with, again, talking with staff at the Board of Elections, but I'll turn it over to you guys at this point and let, you know, maybe even you, Mr. Knight, can start the conversation. And I appreciate your concerns. I appreciate, you know, anything you might have to say, and I'll take direction as it relates to what you think I should do, we should do in the future.
So, in regards to terminations, which, I mean, I think are a little separate from the $100 fines on the 63,000, so maybe not. So, what is, I mean, is it extra work for them? I mean, they've already been referred, they come up on our docket, I don't know, every so often. I mean, what is other than checking a box on a form somewhere, what is their concern about them not being terminated?
What do you mean, the board?
The board, yes.
The board's concerned, the board, as it relates to these cases, the board would probably like to see them terminated. So that they
Is
don't
that
have
a request on these, to see them terminated?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what they're, to put it maybe tritely, they're tired of referring these folks over and over and over. Because they've been doing it for so long, they've been able to get in touch with them. And they reached out to me and kind of said, hey, would you address this with the commission? And see if they'd be interested in, I guess, declaring at least some of these terminated that have been outstanding for a long time. And so I don't know that it has anything to do with extra work or anything like that. I think it's just the board saying, hey, we've been doing this for a long time, and we have, and we've referred matters along. And to a degree, the triplet case is an example of the matters that we've sent along to the AG's office finally getting some attention and them looking to try and do something. Unfortunately, they still can't find triplet, but the former treasurer, Williamson, who hasn't been treasurer for 8, 9, 10 years, somewhere around there, they did get her. And, she is, at least in talking with the staff, she's not in a great position to afford as much money as the AG's office is looking to try to collect on all the various outstanding items that they have. And so that's why I came to the decision on that one to kind of, try and resolve it, let's put it that way. And yeah, that is a low amount. Again, going ahead to triple it. That is a very low amount, but I can't say that I was overjoyed about. I'll say it, I've been accepting on the commission's behalf, but in conversation with staff at the board, and if you know the person that I deal with at the Cuyahoga County Board, the term sympathetic doesn't necessarily fit into her lexicon when it comes right down to it. She generally will refer back, send the responses back to me with the words, find them with, 2, 3, 4 exclamation points after it. But she kind of spoke on behalf of Ms. Williamson, and after discussing it back and forth with her, that's where we came up with the $100 amount. So that is I wouldn't say that's a bit of an outlier, but in an effort to try and get that matter resolved, I wasn't overjoyed about it, but I thought, okay, I'll go ahead and do that as it relates to that, with not saying that the board suggested it, but in conversation with the board, that was kind of the discussion that we came to.
I mean, I guess I personally have a real challenge, and what somebody can or cannot afford. I mean, I don't think that Board of Elections are underwriters. I don't think it's the role of this commission to underwrite ability to pay. We're not, when we go through the rest of our recommendations, we're not evaluating their ability to pay. So, why would we give special consideration? I mean, to me, it creates an incentive, to sit on these things until it reaches 60, 70 grand and claim, we're poor and it'll be $100, right? I mean, why would, it kind of takes away, our fines aren't that large to begin with, I get it, but I have a hard time going through the rest of our agenda and charging one-time offenders, $50 when this, person has been out for several years and $63,000, and we're going to let them off for $100, and we have other people we're going to charge $100 that are much less egregious. I mean, I just have a really difficult time reconciling that.
Okay. And I understand and I respect that. And like to me, this is a bit of an outlier in terms of me making that of a recommendation. I don't know if that.
But with all due respect,
Okay.
I mean, you have to talk to the person directly. We're trusting the Board of Elections person to evaluate their willingness to pay, their ability to pay. And I mean, I don't know, up to this point, certainly I've never heard ability to pay as a criterion that we used before. Hardly the hearsay of ability pay.
True,
Um, uh,
true, understood. Well, I mean, it could be, and part of my reason for wanting this conversation too is, you know, I kind of went ahead on my own and did this as it related to this particular case. And if there are concerns about that, I could always bring, let's say, bring more things back and say, here's what I've heard, what do you want to do, kind of things in the future. At least, you know, as it relates to that kind of a circumstance. You know, and so, I mean, I'm, you know, you guys tell me how you want, to a degree, you guys tell me how you.
and I may be an
want to
outlier,
proceed.
I mean, I don't know what the other commissioners saying.
Right.
But I mean, I will, if that's what we've done, I will probably vote nay for pretty much every fine today, because I don't know that I will do it forever, but certainly today, just as a personal statement that I think it's unfair treatment to those who have, you know, in some cases, just been 6 months late, and now we're finding them $50 or whatever it is, and, you know, here's somebody who is 63 grand and change, and they're getting off for 100. I have a challenge with the equity of that. But I'm welcome other thoughts, obviously.
Madam Chair, may I just ask Mary a question? So what do you think would be fair? I understand your equity argument, I get that. But so in a case like this, what would you suggest then?
I mean, I would think either A, we wouldn't be settling for, you know, I would think 4 figures or close to it, certainly in that direction. Or if we're gonna, I don't even know if this is possible, if we're going to do things like this, then they should come with, you know, you agree to never be a treasurer again, or you agree to not run a not run as a candidate. I mean, there ought to be consequences. If we're gonna let go of a $60,000, you know, fine and complete, just ignoring the issue for long periods of time, there ought to be a bigger consequence than a minimal fine, in my view.
I guess my concern has always been when we charge them $50 a day or $100 a day. I would rather see a definite amount set, and that's where we land. Because if we get to 63,300, and we know that if they come back and pay whatever, or they get, you know, they get themselves in compliance for every infraction that they have, you know, been sent to us for. If we, in the back of our minds, have the thought that maybe we're gonna forgive 63,300, I'd rather say upfront, this is something that we would consider a $1,500 fine, or a, you know, $5,000 fine. I think it would be probably, I get why we've always done it, it's to get attention and for them to know, but to your point, are we setting a precedence of they can drag it out forever, 2 years later become, you know, in compliance, and then it's basically, I don't like that it's a scare tactic that we use, because I really think that if they thought that this $5,000 fine is always going to be out there, I think maybe they would be more inclined to, you know, and maybe that becomes, I don't know, I just think that I think there needs to be certain amounts that are set for certain things, and then that way it doesn't look like we're always.
I think that makes a lot of sense. A rubric around what levels equate to what. And, you know, regardless of ability to pay or whatever that may or may not be claimed, if you hit certain criteria, this is where you're gonna be.
Madam Chair, I'm going to ask a question. Has Splendid Triplet been in communication Or
Not-
is communication only been with one elections?
The triplet has not been in touch with anybody, is the understanding I can give. Treasurer Williamson was in touch just with the Board of Elections. I had a brief conversation with Williamson.
Yeah.
After I had a conversation with the Board of Elections about this potential resolution. But that's, it's been minimal.
So even if there is a fine imposed of $100, there's no guarantee she paid.
She paid already $100.
She's already paid. Oh, I see what you're saying.
So really, this is just to consolidate everything and then terminate the committee.
Correct.
I had a question for the executive director. So as I look at the triplet case, she seems to run every year. And I don't know if there's a potential that she's going to run again.
I don't know that she's run, it's just that she never terminated her campaign.
Gotcha. So this, okay, so this is not that she's an ongoing candidate, it's just,
Correct,
okay.
correct.
And does terminating the committee, if she was to consider a run again, she would have to create a new committee? And but all of this then would be off the book, well, just $100 fund.
Yes, at this point.
So I think that, I think Ernie's point makes sense. There's something there that just doesn't feel right with just $100 fund. Because clearly it doesn't sound like she's been in communication with anyone, it's just been the treasurer.
Triplet is not.
Madam Chair, are you?
No, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you were talking.
Madam Chair, if I may, I would simply recommend maybe a delay of consideration of these items simply so we have more time to digest and think about this. I think that the word equity is used often and frequently in today's culture, but the reality is that the law needs to be equally applied to all in a consistent way, or else it's not the law at all. And so if we look back at the cases that we've seen, similar fine levels for obviously much more egregious cases, different nature, but nonetheless, financial accountability still in place, and also the ability of this commission to be flexible on the allocation of an additional fine or restriction, as Ernie mentioned, I think are necessary in equal application. So I don't think that I feel like I'm in a position to make the right decision or an educated decision at this point. Of course, I'll take whatever information we continue to deliberate on today, but this may be one that we really need to think through for consistency moving forward.
And would you apply that to the others as well? There are 8 other cases that were brought to our attention for basically the same consideration. So does everyone feel the same about those cases as well? There are 3 that were recommended dismissed for failure of service, 3 that have $63,300 plus $100 daily reconsideration option, and then 2 that are to consolidate the cases.
And those are similar situations, they just are not replying to.
Yes. That's the information I've been given by the board, yes. And they have been regularly referred to this commission. As you can see by looking at the ICW.
So,
I mean, I guess, there I would, as it relates to those other 8 cases, I highlighted those only because, again, in the discussion with the board there, the board was saying, hey, would you consider having the commission consider terminating the committees? If we just accept the recommendation that I'm making, you're not terminating the committee. It's just making that kind of a finding against that. Against that candidate committee treasurer, as the case may be. And we're saying, no, we're not in a situation
we would still be imposing,
We'd be dismissing the first three and then imposing the per diem fines against the others.
so basically on the table is, are we able to table these 8, well, I guess dismissing would be a whole different situation. So the 5 cases that would involve imposing quite a hefty fine and the per diem fine, so that there could be discussion and maybe establish a rubric of what we would maybe find to be something that would be a little bit more equitable going forward. Is that?
I'd say consistent or justifiable, you know, if there is not a financial consequence, then the reality of some type of time frame or penalization of being able to move forward in that way makes sense.
So is that something that we are able to do?
In terms of what, just kind of continuing these as a?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
If I may, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Chair, but I think the question also, the Executive Director, is development of a new rubric around how we want to think about these types of cases, what fines, what, and maybe at what point we establish, you know, hey, you can't, a non-financial consequence, whatever it might be. I think it's a broader strategic question that the chair is asking, if I understood correctly.
That's what I meant. If I didn't state it correctly, I apologize.
Well, no, I think you did, but the executive director answer, I interpreted as, can we just continue them? I don't think he was answering whether we could work towards the establishment of the rubric.
Oh, no, I wasn't ignoring that aspect of it.
Oh.
It's just, I mean, that, if that's what everybody wants to do, we have to continue cases.
And again, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was on the same page, as I wasn't clear.
So, just so it's clear, which would be continuing?
And I have to apologize here, there's a missing page on today's worksheet that has a whole second page of per diem fines. Yeah, when I made a bonehead move in terms of printing one page each, so I'm gonna have to run back down to the office real quick and print out that second page. That has all of the various ones, that has the per diem fines attached to it.
Yeah, when I look at these, so understand the triplet in which you have there, Mr. Richter, but it's like picking one out here. So on Darren Sensor, I mean, we have, which is 2022R-292, you can see that notification was sent going back from July 29th, 22, and then a full year. So certified, regular. So there's nothing, but the disposition of it is just Mr. Rector has 63,000 plus the $100 a day with reconsideration option. But that's not dismissing these. What I'm saying is that we wouldn't be dismissing these cases as opposed to the triplet. So I don't know why we couldn't just act on those, because the fine is still there. I don't know why you need to continue. Do we need to have a discussion? I agree with that. Because we have to figure out not only the fining, but in my opinion, you have to figure out when we send notifications and nothing happens and we have nobody or anything to follow up on it. That's kind of the problem, right? I mean, people aren't noticed or they don't take it, so what do you do? I mean, there has to be some delivery of service. And it appears when I look at these, usually it's over a year where there's no delivery of service. we dismiss certain things, so.
So you're saying that they weren't even notified that there's a $63,000 fine out there?
Yeah, I'm saying, so I'm just that case I picked out, so 7/29/22, they get a certified letter. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Jill. And then 8/30/22, regular mail, 9/1/23, regular mail that we have, both to the treasurer and to the candidate. And so, attempt has been made. We don't know if they're going to respond or not, but when you look at the disposition hasn't changed. It's 63,000 plus $100 a day, correct? And that's how the other ones are, at least what I've read. As opposed to when you look at triplet, that's dismissing and saying $100.
So you're saying
So
that,
I'm saying it doesn't make sense to me that we continue these. We don't need to, we just approve these because it's still the 63,000, which is Ernie's issue.
and then we can
And then
have
we
the
need
new
to,
amount that we can reconsider
yeah,
too,
going back to,
with the rubric that we established.
I think that could be separate. I don't know if we do that as a committee, kind of like we did on the executive director's issues, right? Where you pick and I'm sure you pick a couple of people to work with Phil or something, because it's a long discussion. This isn't something that's, just take a little bit and then they could come back and share that with the committee, what they've done, with the full committee, right?
Sure.
Just a thought.
So we can move on these today. The reconsideration, they can be brought back when we have a rubric and then have established what we feel is a more equitable table of fines.
Well, I think what I would add is if we can come up with the rubric as it's being phrased. But if we act on these, even the ones that are dismissals, if we act on them and we're gonna get these back. They're coming back to us.
Right.
They're gonna come back to us in some manner or form. And then as we develop how we want to approach that in the future, they're gonna be here. We're not having them go away, let's put it that way.
Right.
Aside from triple.
I guess my point was since we had mail delivery back in September, we still don't know whether or not they will within a short period contact you or not, right? Or, I mean, given the US mail, you don't know.
Right.
We had this discussion too.
Yeah, but
Whether or not they've received them in time or whatever.
history tells me nobody's going to reach back out.
Okay, fair enough. But I guess to my point, it's how we have this discussion has to be how we send stuff to. When we get these huge fines. I'm not so sure. I understand by law, regular mail is considered delivered, but it would seem to me that certified mail, at least trying to.
When we notify of any kind of a penalty or fine, that goes out certified.
But on these, on
These are
census,
notice letters saying they're before the commission. Certified mail is used as well as regular mail.
that's not the case in census.
Well,
We sent certified in 22
right.
and only regular in 23. That's my point.
A consistency of how it's,
Our process is,
Right. I mean, I understand why we do it, and I understand by law it's considered delivered.
right,
Right.
but our process
But
is certified
The
mail.
question is anybody really getting certified? Because they'll knock on your door, try to hunt you down, or
Right.
leave a slip that says, pick this up from the post office.
After we get back, certified mail services is returned to us most of the time, not always, and sometimes it's months later, then we'll just send out regular mail. I mean, that's what's set up in our rules, and that's the process that we use.
I got that, but there's a year's difference here.
That's because the first one went out for the first meeting, we continued the case at that point, then as it comes up for second, third meeting potentially, and as you notice, maybe you brought up some more, the July 29 certified mail to him came back attempted not known. Then we sent out the regular mail on August 30.
But you
And that was not returned. No, August 30, 22. That was not
You're
returned.
correct, I'm wrong on that one.
Then come back this year, setting up for this meeting,
Sending,
we sent out regular mail, based on the fact that the regular mail did not come back as undeliverable. Because that will, that will occur in terms of if there is a, and sometimes we get back an attempted not known or something, or your forwarding order expired, we'll get a updated address information. Then we'll send out to those updated addresses, and we get those. In this particular case, we tried to source, some more, although he's obviously also his treasurer, at whatever was listed as his home address, sent out regular mail after the attempted, after that came back, we sent that out on August 30. Then this year, when we're setting up for this meeting, we just send out regular mail.
so then with all this, what was your recommend?
As it relates to him?
No, it was with the other one. So we can get some clarity here and move on.
Well, I've been making these kinds of recommendations for a long time, and you guys talked about, and I certainly wouldn't have any problem with it, coming up with something where, okay, if we're gonna make a resolution down the line, if you've had 10 cases, $100 a case, I'm just throwing a number out there, that's $1,000. I don't have any problem with that. In the past, though, I've attached that kind of number on, let's say, the $62,000 plus $100 maybe for reconsideration with the payment of X. And a previous commission said, no, we don't like that. We don't want you to do that. That's why I've come back to just putting the per diem amounts and giving them the option to have a matter reconsidered. So, I mean, I'm at your beck and call as it relates to that. I'm not trying to be trite, but I've done that in the past. And, have come back to this manner of trying to do things as it relates to the big funds. I mean, you brought up Sonora.
Well, I was
If
trying
you
to
look
say how.
if you look on page 3,
Uh,
page 3 of that referral, as an example, actually the one that goes between pages 2 and 3, case 2008 R398, the finding there, 26.6 plus $100 a day for reconsideration, I'll show the payment of $1,200. That may have been, wasn't 12 cases at that point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cases, so $200 per 6 cases. That was the finding that the commission made then, and it was then, and then if you go back up and look at the next one, 2009 or 292, there's no with payment of, well, that was when the commission said, no, we don't want you to do that. Just put the per diems and deal with the reconsideration otherwise, whenever it comes back to us. And obviously, in this case, it's not come back to us, but.
But so you're of the mind that we should just continue all this, as opposed to what I was saying, is to just.
No, I think we should act on them based on, it gives us something else that will be done. We'll send it along to the AG's office and, hopefully we get connection with somebody.
Okay. I thought you said it was just gonna keep coming back to us anyway.
Oh, they
Because I
can,
misunderstood.
well, they more than likely will. But that's a matter of, the other thing part of the discussion today was terminating some of these committees.
Right.
So that, the board wouldn't necessarily refer them along to us again. And that's where, if we don't act to terminate them, that.
Understand. We're only dealing with the one that's triple, that's terminated, right?
Correct. Triple was the only one that I'm recommending termination. And again, that was based on conversation that I had with the staff and board.
But then we're suggesting to hold that one in abeyance.
And we can hold that one as well. Correct.
Right, so we have 3 things going here. I'm trying. So hold the triplet case in abeyance for further review or discussion. Staff, can we do that?
Sure.
Do these separate?
So one quick question on that. So we it had already communicated that this $100 would do it. So what would be the communication back? We need to return the $100? What, I mean,
Potentially, we would return $100, yes.
Well,
Well, but if you're holding, I'm sorry, if you're holding it in abeyance, you wouldn't have to return it. Would you?
Not necessarily, but it depends on the nature of how.
Right, I
how we
mean, there's
proceed.
no final disposition at this point.
Right.
So until,
Until then, right. But one of the possibilities is.
yeah, I'm with you.
well, and also to Commissioner Knight's point, there could be, we can, you know, we did it with Elkins. Well, actually, no, we didn't. I think the judge did it. But, you know, there could be a stipulation that, you know, you can't be a treasurer for whatever. Are we able to do that? Or is that more of a judicial?
Technically, that's beyond the
Our reach.
commission's statutory authority.
Okay. So,
I mean, we could always make that kind of make it an element of a finding.
right.
I'm not sure how, if somebody really wanted to challenge it, how enforceable it would be.
do we have any statutory abilities for non-monetary consequences?
Not really, no. Referral for prosecution. If you look at the statutes, and you know, it's if we find, make a finding, impose a fine, refer, find good cause not to do either of those things.
At least for the Kirkwood case, cases 2022 R-301, 2023 R-170, I would move that we either put in abeyance, continue it, whatever the appropriate terminology is, pending study, further study of how the commission would like to handle large dollar fine amounts going forward.
Needs to be clear, we have to do a motion on that or just.
No, I would encourage you to feel a motion in order to continue in that regard.
I'll second
In this case, we continue.
Correct. Those cases.
Those are
Vote, yeah, there's two.
301. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor that's been duly seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. Can I go ahead and take these others?
Give me a minute to go downstairs and get page 2.
Okay.
Page 2, I screwed up. I don't know.
It wasn't me, because I crossed them up with the, yeah. So it can be more difficult to go on here. I can do it. But it'll be more.
guess I had a conversation about notification when something was meeting a certain threshold because of the unsettled nature of one or two people testifying. I don't know if you remember that conversation we had about making sure those milestone notifications get to them, that they're at X amount versus X amount, just because of the mental crippling nature of a high
And
amount that
I
may or
feel
may
really
never be
strongly about
reached.
that. Because I think that when they sometimes see something,
Sure.
it can
Paralyze.
Right.
paralyze them with fear.
Paralyze me.
And, yeah, absolutely. And then that, there's no action that is being taken because there's just absolutely, yeah, I agree, 100%. And I do, well, I don't know, we should be talking for something, but I do agree that with, with payment of whatever the rubric would determine. I think, and even if it's gonna be something like astronomical, if we can let them know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, just become compliant, this
Right,
is, you know, I
engage the
think,
conversation.
yeah, I think it just is, I think it's gonna encourage that.
Right, the reconsideration piece, but we have to be able to communicate with them more than one way because the communication is not landing. So we're just meeting the heads against the wall here.
In this particular case, she wasn't even going into compliance, this terminating committee, she didn't go into compliance.
Oh, she's not.
No, no, there wasn't even compliance for the $100.
Saying, make this go away.
Yeah, what it amounted to. I mean, I don't think my view, personal view, would have changed on the fairness, but
Part of my issue is, you know, they will be sometimes we consider the staff time, the certified meal costs, and all of that. Maybe we, it was part of that rubric that we should, you know, you were meals and other things, stay through so many different motions to get us to this point.
You can give it every chance, kind of thing.
And
And
then
then,
that minimal state has put this much into it, and then minimal that needs to be neutralized.
so I'm gonna run down the hall.
Little,
No, it's simply, I think we should go to recess for maybe 5 minutes till he gets back, and that way, if anyone needs to run down the hall.
Or whatever reason.
Yeah.
Those is long for more than an hour drive have to.
Right?
probably.
See me not running,
That's the
I'm
question.
not tripping.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the cops need to- And I'm sure that's you.
This is more.
Getting that over.
Oh, yeah.
Heads up to, you know, do this walk, how many other times do you get a mile in?
Yeah,
They used to.
that makes sense. It's very welcome.
Yes. Good, so we'll get one more minute.
Oh, good idea. If I don't, then in 15 minutes, I'm gonna probably be wishing I had.
Isn't it? It goes quick.
I can't use my hand signals when they're done.
No, I know. That's cool.
Wow, he's gone.
Everybody left.
He left me. Well, it's one of those things where, you know, you do a lot of cutting and pasting, you know, updating documents. And the last time I printed out this document, this essential one was last 2 weeks ago, that I needed to update one page. So I did it, so I printed it out last night.
Yeah.
I printed out page
I was
one.
not updating the other day.
So I realized that, and I come in today, I'm partial to the last one. Forgot all about page two.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm looking at like almost trips, I'm thinking, you know what, I'm looking at her, campaign.
Yeah.
I think she ran for Canadian school board,
Yeah,
and,
then way back when.
and it went to mayor control, so we haven't had, I'm wondering if that came into play, because there's an appointed school board since 1998, I don't know. So I'm wondering if she thought when they did away with the elected school board, she was doing, I don't know.
That's not an unreasonable thought.
Can have gray hair back.
Yeah, we should have a picture of all this. We got the time.
It's gotta stop. Right. You don't know why it started.
Go on to page 2.
It's 10:53, 10:54, we're back in session. Okay. Okay, so let's start at the top of, I did kind of write in here, didn't it? Let's start at the top of the agenda. Group recommendations. The first one is to dismiss at the request of the Board of Elections. That is case number 2022 R-343.
Yes, I think motion.
Okay.
Second.
So move second, you just second?
I said.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. It's been duly seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next group is dismissed for failure of service. The first one is 2021 R-312. The next group will be they will all be in 2022 R-, and they are 274, 277, 308, 347, 349, 365, 366, 368, 380, 399, and 422.
Not really, I mean, they're just, we've tried repeatedly and gotten notices back from the postal service that for one reason or another, service was not able to be completed.
Do you have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion on the question, duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next would be to dismiss for good cause.
No, to find a violation, but for good cause.
Oh, I'm
not
so
to
sorry.
find it for medical prosecution.
Like Mr. Richter said. So they are 2022 R-325 and 2022 R-381. My apologies. Okay.
The reports have been filed, a response has been submitted, and the report.
Are these all 2022 or are they 2023? Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Just want to make sure we're reading them.
The reports were filed close in time to when the due date for filing was, and a response was submitted giving an explanation to my recommendations to find a violation.
So, we have a motion. Do you have a second? Right, we have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next category is a $50 fine category. These are cases 2021R-077, 2022R-352, 2022R-387, 2022R-421, 2022R-425, and 2023R-167. Mr. Richter.
The reports have been filed, a response was submitted, but the response is beyond at least 2 weeks and generally much more time than that for when the report was filed. And so my recommendation is fine violation and fine of $50.
Questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next category is the $100 fine category. These are all going to begin 2022 R-. They are 270, 315, 323, 341, 391, and 402.
These are all matters when the report was filed, it was beyond the 10 days to 2 weeks, generally often longer than that. But no response was submitted that gave me an understanding of the facts and circumstances of why the report was not timely filed. And so my recommendation is to find a violation and impose a fine of $100.
Questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next case would be to consolidate with case number 2022 R-356, find a violation and impose a fine of $100. That is case number 2022 R-309.
The report, a couple of reports were outstanding based on the other cases this has been consolidating with. Reports were filed in July of 2021 for both the 2020 and the 2020 annual, but no response was submitted to the commission. So my recommendation is to find a violation and impose a fine of $100.
Questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next two cases have already been taken care of. Next. The next category would be the $250 fine category. These are cases 2022 R-3112 and 2022 R-318.
These are matters for which members of the commission, in which there are prior violations, numerous prior violations for the respondent. The reports were filed. They were filed well beyond 10 days, 2 weeks. And so based on the fact that there were priors and what was done in the priors, my recommendation is to find a violation and impose a fine of $250. And no response was submitted to the commission.
Questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next case would be to it's 2022 R-413. Recommendation is reconsider case numbers 2020 R-155 and 2019 R-260. Vacate the previous findings, consolidate all cases, find a violation, and impose a fine of $250.
A response was submitted to reports, all the reports initially filed in March of this year for both the outstanding matters and the current case. And so my recommendation is to find a violation and impose a fine of $250 based on the circumstances.
Any questions?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next case is a $500 fine category. That is case number 2021 R-017.
There was a previous matter that was it was commission on a violation, imposed a $200 fine. That fine has not been paid. The committee is back again for the third time. A response was submitted, the report was filed about 2.5 years late as it relates to this particular referral. And so my recommendation is to find a violation, impose a fine of $500, and that would take into consideration the $200 that's outstanding. I'm going to answer any questions.
Any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So,
Second.
We have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next category is a $600 fine category. That is case number 2022R-400.
this particular candidate committee has had a number of referrals. There were a couple of issues in this particular case. The reports were finally filed in December last year. But considering the priors and how late this was, my recommendation is to find a violation and impose a fine of $600.
Any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a, oh, sorry. We have a motion on the floor that has been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next category is a $1,000 fine category. These are cases 2022R-302 and 2022R-319.
Similar recommendation, somewhat different circumstances. In the second case, there was no response submitted, but there was a prior violation in which the commission found a violation, imposed a $500 fine that was paid. As it relates to the first case, though, there are a series of violations as well. Most of them are still remaining outstanding. But again, the report was well over a year and a half late. No response was submitted. So anyway, my recommendation is to find a violation and impose a fine of $1,000 based on various priors that are outstanding, or even if they've been resolved.
Any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was late. My fault.
All in favor, signify by opposed, same sign. Like, where was I? Okay. Motion passes with a vote of 6-0. You threw me way up, Bernie. Okay, so the next case, I'm confused.
And that's where I was
looking
looking at that confused, and that was what drove my delay then, Chair.
Okay, so this one we already addressed as a $100 fine, but now this one it says $1,000. Oh,
There go my delay.
Aha!
your delay is excused.
Okay. Well, all right, I will merely say we've already acted on it, so that was done and ignore that.
Okay, there we go. All right, the next case, two cases are $25 a day with consideration option cases. They are 2021R-380 and 2022R-357.
The reports, we got service on the committee, the reports have not yet been filed, and so my recommendation is to find violation of those fines $25 a day until such time as the reports are filed and give the candidate the opportunity to have the matter reconsidered.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next case is case number 2022R-370. The recommendation is to consolidate with case number 2023R-246, find a violation and impose a fine of $25 a day with reconsideration option.
And I will draft this, and I will go ahead and have my say as it relates to all the other matters that are, the commission is yet to act upon. They're all just situations where the reports have not yet been filed after checking with the Board of Elections. And the matters are still outstanding. The differing amounts are based on what kind of priors there have been involving the respective cases. If there are 1, 2, or 3 prior violations, then you get different recommendations in terms of whether we allow reconsideration of only a payment of $250 or identifying what the outstanding amount is from the date the last report issued was due until today's meeting date. So they're all just outstanding reports. I'll be glad to answer any of the questions the commission may have, if they have anything as it relates to specific issues. But that's the circumstances for each of the recommendations on the remainder of this page, aside from the very last one.
On the, if I may, on the Simmering case, though, we have received those filings. Right?
I'm sorry, we have what?
We have received those filings in the ICW, this filing.
Well, there was one that was and one that was not.
Okay.
What is it?
I'm looking at 39.
Right,
That was received.
10, 21, 21. That would be, the pre-gen was filed, the
Right.
post-gen has not yet been filed.
Okay.
And so that's what the reason for my recommendation
Okay.
as it is.
Any other questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next group of cases all begin with 2022R dash, so we have 340, 362, 385, 412, and 419. This is a $25 a day fine with reconsideration option to payment of $250. Any questions on those cases? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next group of cases, 2022R-289, 2022R-364, and 2022R-369. The recommendation is to impose a $15,825 fine plus $25 a day with reconsideration option. Any questions on those cases? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next group is 2022R-275, 2022R-292, 2022R-305, and 2022R-388. This is, the recommendation is to find a violation, impose a fine of $63,300 plus $100 a day with reconsideration option. And those have been discussed as well. Any questions on those? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor that's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The next case is 2022R-272. The recommendation is to find a violation, but to consolidate with case number 2023R-130. Find a violation, impose a fine of $63,300 plus $100 a day with reconsideration option. That's been discussed as well. Any questions on that? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. Next case is 2022R-287. The recommendation is to consolidate with case number 2023R-148. Find a violation and impose a fine of $63,300 plus $100 a day with reconsideration option. Any questions on that?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor, it's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The last case is 2022-R-288, and that is a recommendation to consolidate with case number 2023-R-149, find a violation and impose a fine of $63,300 plus $100 a day for reconsideration option. That one's been discussed. Any questions?
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor that's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with a vote of 6-0. The last case is a continue upon request of the respondent. That case is 2022-R-384, so that case has been continued. Okay, the next item on the agenda is our hearing. So this time, yes, we're gonna.
Yes, at this point, I think we should excuse Mr. Carroll.
When we quit, he was in the middle of testifying, so he's still on the witness stand.
Yeah, no, you were just excusing him from being here, Mr. Soppers.
Yeah, but he's gonna walk back in because when we start, we're gonna pick up with him being on the witness stand.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we have that.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, do we have a motion
I'll-
to-
I'll make a motion.
He's excusing himself. So. Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor to excuse Mr. Caraway because he's recusing himself from the case. So we have a motion that's been duly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. That motion carries with a vote of 6-0. And then we're going to note that.
Note that Mr. Stafford has arrived. He has arrived a while ago, he's officially arrived.
So, okay. So at this time, everybody in the Hicks Smith case can.
No, I think that's for you. That's for reference.
Okay. We're gonna take a little break while everyone is getting around. Yeah.
Probably. I think it tells 4 or something rolls.
You want to move it up?
Well, that's what,
Go ahead.
It does hold it. It's-
Yeah.
You got 2 more inches to your first.
Thank you. There's no charge for moving furniture.
You mean there's no reimbursement?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you charge, our hands are tied. Okay, so, Mr. Caraway stepped out, and he'll be right back, so we're getting everything around.
Do I have time for a 2-minute bio break?
Do what?
Do I have time for a 2-minute bio break?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sorry, I'll finish my break. We're on a 2-minute break, so I was multitasking.
Oh, sorry.
But yes, thank you.
7:45 till 9.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I hope not. This is my obedient shot. The other two.
You got that here.
Oh, I got it, yeah. yeah, our parent-teacher conference last year, I think I told you guys that I went in and just, they just gave us these reviews and it was like tears, warming of a mother's hearts. And all I could think was, it's not gonna be this way next year with the boys getting
The second one is always a,
from
as I've found. That's what, like, my youngest, he's always been home.
Yes, yes.
I know, I
I want you to, you
know.
know, very cute.
My youngest boy.
I went on like 4th of July and I opened up a little trick or treat.
Yeah.
What's he saying, what he's at school?
Yeah, so everything that runs into him does.
I think the reason that there, that may be. I didn't know that.
But at home, yeah, she gets this.
I believe everyone is back, so we're gonna.
Believe that I do not spit
You're
when
gonna need to swear Mr. Caraway.
Swear and affirm to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Oh, Mr. O'Brien.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just for the record, I noticed that Commissioner Tavares is not present, and
She had a conflict and she was not able to make today's meeting.
at least, how does the commission usually handle that, since she's heard everything up till now?
She's heard everything up to this point. We'll see how things develop, is the best I can tell you at this point. We have at times, now that, especially now that we're videoing, she can visually watch the video, potentially get a transcript and participate. If that becomes necessary, we'll just have, at this point, I'm planning on playing it by ear, and seeing how things progress.
Okay, that's acceptable. I just wanted to, thank you.
Is that acceptable with you, Mr. Hicks?
Yeah, well, I know that your rule, I think 3517-1-06C1 is that either hearings will be before the full commission or before a panel. So I'm kind of confused right now because there's no, per se, alternate for her that listened up to this point. He's the Republican alternate.
That's correct.
So there's that, so we have an unbalanced. I also believe that probably your own rules, when you talk about like the fine schedules that are in your rules, should have never been updated to reflect the statutory addition of alternates. So they only assume there's a commission, not that there's also alternates. So the play it by ear is a little, and I'm shaky to me, but I don't know if you've ever had an opinion before on what happens in this situation, other than play it by ear. I'm sure there's not a documented opinion that says play it by ear.
I mean, it is still a quorum, so
Right.
I think that's how we've always operated, as long as there's a quorum. And there is present today, so I think
Okay.
that's,
We proceed, yes.
we proceed, yeah.
All right.
It's been unfortunate, but it is occurred in the past where we had hearings and we've had persons participate and subsequently not be able to. Try to avoid that, obviously, but sometimes.
At this point, we're gonna have Mr. Hicks start.
So, Mr. Caraway, just for clarification, I was reviewing your testimony from before, from back in September. Can you just break down, because I was a little confused on your time in the 2020 primary, what % would you say was spent with Schmidt versus with Freeman versus with all the other candidates? Because I believe your testimony was, those were your two main ones, and then there were others, but.
Yeah, I had others, and I'm sorry, Mr. Hicks, I am not at this point going to guess or try to quantify. I had many candidates, both House candidates, county candidates, and so it wouldn't be fair for me, particularly almost 4 years after the election, to try to guess. Sorry, just not
But
going to do it.
but you already testified to a
Okay.
percentage.
So whatever I testified at.
Do you remember what you testified to?
I don't, I'm sorry.
Okay, I think, would you be, would you disagree that the record would show that you testified to 50% or more with those
Sure.
two candidates?
That's fine.
And just because of what you said there, were you compensated by JPL and Associates for working with county commissioners or county candidates, or only for state rep candidates? You just mentioned county commissioners.
Yeah, so I build county candidates through my company, so.
Okay, I'm just talking about the time that was your JPL,
Yeah.
state race time. So, so you would, that passed, assuming I remember it correctly, the 50% would not be off the mark.
Sure,
Okay.
not unreasonable.
And beyond, if you had to generally quantify state rep candidates, because remember you said south of 70, other than Schmidt and Freeman, how many other state, just order of magnitude, how many other state rep candidates were you working with?
8 to 10 to 12.
So you were working with, if I use the low number, 10 total, including Schmidt, Freeman, and 8, or 14 total if I take the high number. So somewhere between 10 and 14 total candidates, in which 2 were Schmidt and Freeman. Is that
Yes.
okay? For the other candidates, was your time with them fairly evenly distributed?
I would think so. Obviously, campaigns ebb and flow.
Okay.
So 1 week, you may spend a lot more time on another.
So just so I'm clear, your testimony, so if you had 2 candidates were a lot of time, and then you had candidates that were fairly even at the next tier. It wasn't as if there was a 3 tier, like there was high, medium, low. It was just, there was high and there were other. Is that a fair representation?
Yes.
Okay. In that blue notebook, well, I'm gonna refer you to something in there. And Mr. Richter, I'm assuming that the commissioners have a copy of Exhibit S. Okay, so
Exhibit S, that's
the one I saw you a week ago? The new one from a week ago?
mailers, yeah, I sent those. to
Okay.
the commissioners.
So before we look, we're gonna look at Exhibit X, at S. What was your role, if any, in the approval, the design or approval of mailers for candidates?
Can you tell me what page that's on?
Well, I'm asking you a question before we look at the exhibit. So I just want to make sure you
Yeah.
hear my question.
Mostly limited. I don't remember handling much creative at all.
Were you part of any sort of approval cycle for any candidates for,
The
Mailers or
process was not part of my wheelhouse.
okay. I observed in the Alan Freeman case, which there is an exhibit of some of those in there, you were never copied on mailers. It was Megan Fitzmartin and Alan Freeman who were going back and forth. Is that your recollection?
Yeah,
I believe some of that came
Yeah, I
from.
don't want to say I was never copied, but certainly that was not something I took care of.
Okay. And then, so just for the record, that was, the emails about Freeman, approvals for Freeman mailers was Exhibit F. Okay, it doesn't, and I don't believe you were ever copied on any of those in there, but your testimony would be if you were, that you were not a part of the approval cycle. Is that a correct statement? You were not a part of the approval cycle for mailers.
Correct.
Okay. So I want to direct you to in that book. There's another one of my hillbilly tabs off of the P-Touch that says 1026. And for the commission, that's Exhibit S. S is in Sam, and it's a bunch of mailers.
Okay.
Are you familiar with any of those mailers? You recall any of them in particular? Were involved with approving any of them?
The coronavirus resource guide, I remember that, but only because it was certainly a unique mailer. None of these ring a, none of these really, I can remember specifically.
Did you typically, just for benefit of the commission, did you typically receive mailers from Gene Schmidt, as a voter?
No,
No.
I'm not in her district.
And because you're not in her district, okay? Okay, so down in if we look at the first page of Exhibit S, down in the very bottom right corner of that page, there's a number, and I can barely read it. Can you read that number?
You have to direct me to exactly what page is.
The very first exhibit, the very first page of Exhibit S.
Okay,
At the bottom right corner, there's real small down there, there's a number. Can you read that
I
number?
can see a line. I'm sorry, I have an eye disease.
Okay,
It's
so
blurry.
I have
But
an
I can see
idea. I
that.
have the old age, but I'm discovering readers or cheaters or what have you. Okay, so you can't read that number down,
I can see a line.
that there's a number
Do
down
you want me
there?
to put the book up to my,
No, it's okay. I can read it and it says 20-OH-SCH-001P. Assuming that I just read it correctly, which I think I did. Are you familiar with those kind of numbers or the meanings of those numbers?
I am not, obviously SCH would be, the first three letters of Representative Schmidt's name. But and 20 would have been the election year. But different folks have different ways of coding mailers. Sometimes I've seen them coded, sometimes not.
Okay. So when you go to, it's actually redundant. I don't know if this is important, but because I don't think I have much of any other questions for you. But just in the back of that, if you go back and Exhibit S.
S?
Yeah, the same one. There's a bunch of pages there. They're all mailers. And at some point, there's a letter. It's behind all the actual, colorful mailers. There's a letter dated March 31st, 2020.
Okay.
I think on the page is page number 15 on the exhibit that I provided. Are you familiar with that letter?
Had not seen it before, but knew it existed.
Okay. And, you see that letter is from Jennifer Black. Do you know who Jennifer Black is? And if so, could you describe who that is to the commission?
Yes, it's Representative Schmidt's sister.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you to just flip forward one more page. And this it's another exhibit number. It's one of Mr. O'Brien's exhibits, but I put it here also. This is the invoice the Goldstein / Constant Content invoice. You see those, can you read those numbers on there?
Yes.
Did you see, would you agree that the number I read, which was 20-OH-SCH-001P appears on this invoice?
Could you say the last three digits again, please?
20-OH-SCH-001P.
1P does show up.
Okay. So had you before, I can't remember what your prior testimony is, so it's mine. But did you look at with Ms. Schmidt her invoices like this Constant Content invoice?
I'm not sure. There was a lot of invoices that came in around August or September of 2021 from many members. And so I can't recollect if I'd actually seen this, but I'm certainly familiar with the format.
Okay, and that would include being familiar with the type of numbering that shows up in these invoices, the descriptions?
Yeah, well, yes.
That you've seen that in other invoices,
Correct.
Syntax. So there's somewhere in here is an invoice that is the $164,000 invoice. I think it's the respondent exhibit number 11. By the way, I provided Chris, for the commission members, I provided Chris an updated PDF file with bookmarks that have all the things in there.
And under what Mr.
So this is gonna be in the back, the very back is the respondent exhibits. See where there's a little paper tag that says RESP, so it's Mr. O'Brien's exhibit?
Yes, I see it.
Okay, and then it is back there, if you find exhibit 11, if you see that the total is 164,334.31, then you found the right page,
Correct.
okay? Are you familiar with this invoice?
I knew obviously it existed. I don't know that I've actually seen it, but
Okay. Did you see these kind of invoices involving other candidates with which you work?
no, not until a long period after the election, and Mr. Goldstein's firm was involved.
Well, so this
Sometime in
invoice
2021.
predates Mr. Goldstein's
Okay.
firm
Yeah,
involvement. It's just a constant content
I
invoice.
wouldn't have,
So,
there's an overwhelming chance that I would not have seen this before.
okay. The 8 to 10, 8 to 12, maybe you said candidates other than Schmidt and Freeman. Were you aware of them getting invoices from Constant Content? Any, some, all, none of them?
I'm sure multiple ones would have.
Okay, okay. I think that's all the questions I have for you.
Good morning, Mr. Caraway.
Good morning, Mr. O'Brien.
You can put it there.
You indicated in response to one of Mr. Hicks's questions that you were involved in county candidate campaigns in 2020 in the primary. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you said you had your own consulting business.
Yes,
Is that a campaign consulting business?
correct.
Throughout these proceedings, we've heard about a term of plussing up, and at least at the last hearing, as shown in Schmidt's exhibits, I believe 11. I went through a process of comparing the bills from Strategic Media. They showed on a photo shoot, that on radio production and airtime, and on TV production and airtime, that there was a 10% markup by Constant Content. Were you aware that Constant Content, when you worked for them, was doing that?
Mr. O'Brien, I was not. I would assume they would have because that's what.
Object. I don't believe it's in evidence that Constant Content was doing that. He made a statement that they were doing that in some way, referencing, implying that it was for him.
No, my question, I think, was, were you aware that Constant Content's invoices to Ms. Schmidt and others had a 10% markup? And I think he said, no, he was not.
Object. We don't know that they did for others either.
But that's his answer. I mean,
Yeah, but the question is the issue. The question is introducing as fact something that's not in evidence as being a fact. He's making a statement that invoices other than the ones that he presented had been marked up by 10% for other candidates. That's not something in evidence.
I'll withdraw the question and restate it. Were you aware that Ms. Schmidt got a 10% marked up invoice?
Not at the time, certainly am now.
Have you looked at the invoices from the exhibits in Respondents Exhibit 11? If you could look at that.
Mr. O'Brien, what, is it in the back? Or?
Yeah, it's clear at the back of Mr. Hicks's most, I think they're right in front of S.
Okay. What page? I'm sorry.
Let's see here. I think they would commence on 11A. I don't see a page 1 at the bottom to tell the truth there. It looks like they're I can probably find it for you if I may approach the witness. I don't see that they're in there.
Which exhibit are you looking for?
Looking for the, Schmidt's Exhibit 11.
It's in there. It's mine, if he's looking at mine, look, it's in there. It's under responding exhibits, and then just look for the numbers, if they're not there.
Okay, excuse me.
Okay.
Easy. Respondents Exhibit 11 and 11 series thereafter lists, in the first instance, Exhibit 11 is the exhibit for 164,33431 that lists a number of items, a photo shoot, cable airtime, chaser, media production, and so forth. If you look at 11A,
Okay.
that references some strategic media placement invoices from February 21st to 20. The radio airtime was 23,560, radio production 550, and the total invoice 24,110. And Exhibit 11 from Constant Content, that is marked up 10%. Does that appear to be the case?
What line is that, Mr. O'Brien, on the bill?
Well, 11 is photo shoot at the top of the bill,
Okay.
is 1650. And it was billed 1,500 in 11C.
Yes,
Do you see that?
I do.
Okay, and if we go through the radio production, there's a similar 10% markup. And the TV, similarly, a 10% markup. Do you see those?
I do.
And I think my question previously was you were not aware that there was a 10% markup being invoiced to Ms. Schmidt by Constant Content, correct?
Correct.
In your campaign consulting business, do you mark things up like that in services you provide your clients?
Always.
And can the number vary?
Very much so. For example, small volume, a county race, for example, you'll see the markup much, much higher because the volume isn't there to make it worth the consultant's time. But in a race where there is a lot of volume, oftentimes the percentage, or at least my percentages, went down.
And what's the markup designed to cover for the campaign consultant, whether it's you or Mr. Longstrap?
Overhead, staff, strategic decisions, right design, mail, print, whatever is, obviously a campaign has messaging. The messaging needs to match, whether it's on a mailer, television, whatever. And so all of that infrastructure is paid for by a markup.
From the hard price of whether it's a photo shoot, radio or TV.
Correct.
And is that standard in campaign consulting business?
Yes, some consultants do it a different way and charge a monthly retainer. Oftentimes those retainers, they will then white label the product and then up the percentage a smaller amount, but consultants do a flat retainer fee so that they know they have X amount of dollars coming into their business every month. I've just never done it that way.
And tell me what you mean by the term white label.
White labeling, there are some of the best firms, political firms in America, right here in Ohio, for example. And so rather than recreate, I'll use digital advertising as an example, rather than recreate the infrastructure to successfully deliver digital ads, particularly a small shop like mine, I would contract with a larger firm. Oftentimes, very, very large firms, they reduce their retail price, for example. So if Mr. O'Brien goes and, gets a $10,000 digital buy, I, as a consultant, may be able to get the same impression count for $7,500. I would assure you that I would then charge you $10,000 to $12,000, for example. So the white labeling is using another firm, white labeling their, it's almost like blind shipping when you're shipping something out, and marking up your work through them.
And so if I come to you as a candidate and hire you as my campaign consultant, you do not produce, write the TV ads, then you subcontract it to somebody else, is that?
Correct. Sometimes I would write some material if I obviously wanted to, make sure messaging was correct with my clients, but certainly most of it is jobbed out.
And at least Ms. Schmidt, in this case, came to Constant Content JPL Associates to be the campaign consultant for her campaign. Is that your understanding?
It is.
And JPL and Constant Content did not produce the TV ads, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that was Strategic Media. Correct.
That's correct.
And Strategic Media then billed Constant Content, who paid the bill, correct?
Correct.
And then Constant Content invoiced Ms. Schmidt and marked it up 10%. Is that accurate?
Based on this material, Mr. Bryan, it is.
And did you, we've heard that you were working on 8 or 10 or more state rep candidates, since I understand why you may not be able to identify what amount of time you spent on each campaign. 4 years later, or 3.5 years later, did you contemporaneously keep time? Like I made a phone call, or I reviewed an email, or I was involved, even though you weren't in the mailers. Did you keep time on a daily basis?
No, sir, I've never kept time on any political race.
Would that be pretty difficult with 8 to 10 candidates you're working for?
Absolutely.
And is that one of the reasons that the markup is used, as opposed to billing? If you spent, an hour and a half a day for a week in the primary period on Ms. Schmidt's campaign, instead of separately billing, you're at 1.5 hours per day. You didn't do that, correct?
Correct.
And Constant Content gave one bill, which had the 10% markup that covered that. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding.
Okay. And as you say, that's somewhat normal in the campaign consulting business?
Absolutely.
Okay, and so would it be your understanding and belief that that whatever time you spent on Ms. Schmidt's campaign was paid for through the 10% markup?
I would believe so.
And you would not consider whatever time and whatever value that would be attached to that was an in-kind contribution to her campaign that she didn't report?
Correct.
And would you say that's true for Tommy Rolfe?
Yes.
Megan Fitzmartin?
Objection. This is pure hearsay. Pure hearsay.
Was anyone who was employed by Constant Content for those campaigns, to your knowledge, separately or individually?
Objection. He said he wasn't involved with any of the billing. So it's just asking to get more hearsay.
Sustained.
We've talked, Mr. Carraway, about a fellow named R.J. Mancini. He was not on the payroll of Constant Content, was he?
Objection. He doesn't. He was on JPL's payroll. He doesn't actually know who was on Constant Content's payroll.
And I think he can answer the question noted, Mr. Hicks.
Yeah, you can try and answer the question if you've got.
I'll withdraw the question, Mr. Carraway. And in terms of an in-kind contribution, how did you, as a campaign consultant, handle advising candidates that you contracted with, any amounts that should be reported for an in-kind contribution.
So, in my previous jobs, we would have, when a report was due, we would take a look at all of the invoices and the spending, and then tabulate, and then we would report that to the candidate and the candidate's campaign committee. Oftentimes it would go right up into the deadline, and so we would send it after they had already filed their report, and they would have to, do an amended report, but the in-kind comes from the political entity or the person that was in-kinding it to a campaign committee.
And the candidate or the campaign committee is specifically notified about the in-kind contribution, correct?
That's correct.
Objection. First, that he doesn't know, that's just asking for him to testify as to what the law or the rules are. So the law is not what was just said.
He was speaking from his experience, I think.
And if you know the answer, you can.
I lost you.
I guess the question is, can a candidate report as an in-kind contribution something that they're not aware of and have not been advised by the person who provided it?
They cannot.
If you want to look at Exhibit 11G, it's a couple emails from some people we've talked about before, Susan Jones and Anna Lippincott. Okay. And do you know who Anna Lippincott is?
What exhibit are we looking at?
11G, George?
Yes, Anna Lippincott was in charge of the financial apparatus of JPL, in times, that kind of thing in 2020.
And tell me who Susan Jones is with the Winterset CPA Group.
Susan Jones is a treasurer that works at Winterset CPA, and if my memory serves me correctly, she was the treasurer of the House Republican Campaign Committee along with some various other candidates.
And is it fair to say that this email chain is Ms. Jones and Ms. Lippincott communicating about what in-kind contributions from ORP should be included on reports to be filed by about 7 or 8 candidates?
I think I'm going to object because his question was, is it fair to say? Either has personal knowledge that it is or it is not.
But it speaks for itself, Mr. Carraway. Can you tell me?
No, it doesn't speak for itself. So I have an objection to the phrasing of the question of, is it fair to say? That's an opinion.
I'll
It's asking
withdraw
for an
the
opinion.
part that says, is it fair to say, Madam Chair? And I will ask Mr. Carraway, does 11G reflect a request for who should be given in-kind contributions?
It does.
And is there a list of 6 or 7 state rep candidates that Ms. Lippincott and Ms. Jones identified?
Yes, there are 7.
And are you familiar with the names on that list as state rep candidates in the primary in 20?
Yes, I am.
And is Ms. Schmidt on that list?
She is not.
So Ms. Lippincott for JPL/constant content and Ms. Jones for HRRC are not identifying and notifying Ms. Schmidt that there's an ORP in-kind contribution. Is that correct?
That it would appear so.
What was the question again? Can you read back the question?
Ms. Lippincott for JPL/constant content and Ms. Jones for HRRC are not identifying and notifying Ms. Schmidt that there's no ORP in-kind contribution. Is that correct?
That it would appear so.
So I just want to object on many fronts. First, nobody from the ORP has copied on these emails. Second, I'm not aware of Ms. Jones working for the HRCC. So that's not in evidence. She was the campaign treasurer for Mr. Freeman, for example. So there's many things in what Mr. O'Brien just made as a question that are inventing facts, per se, from thin air. So I object to the question entirely.
Does Ms. Jones ask Ms. Lippincott and state at the bottom of 11G, I don't want to prepare someone's report yet if I need to wait on in-kind information. Thank you. Is that at the bottom of the email?
It is.
And does Ms. Lippincott then respond to that inquiry, identifying the subject as ORP in kind?
Yes.
And
I object. She just identifies what she's making a statement as to the future of a list. It's not the list from the ORP.
this is your exhibit, Mr.
No, it isn't. It's yours.
Hicks. It's mine now, but it was marked previously by you as an exhibit at the May 3rd hearing.
Okay, but what does that have to do with the line right before I object to the question? Because this is about the ORP list will be. It's a speculative note as to what potentially will be on the ORP list. They have not yet received the ORP list based on the document speaking for itself. She's speculating as to who's going to be on the list.
I'm going to overrule that because it says what it says.
And at least we don't know, as Mr. Hicks accurately pointed out, what the ORP list was, but this document that is 11G and a similar exhibit from Mr. Hicks states who the list
Is there a
will
question or are you
be,
just testifying?
who the list will be, and Ms. Schmidt's not on the list. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Caraway. I don't think I have any other questions, Madam Chair.
All right. Lots of things. Mr. Caraway, were you paid, what was your contractual relationship with any, if any, with Constant Content?
I don't believe I had a contract with Constant Content.
Okay. Have you ever seen a bill from, well, who was your contractual relationship with?
JPL.
And when we say your contractual relationship, the name of your company was what?
Churn Creek Strategies.
Okay. Previously in the Alan Freeman case, there were some Churn Creek Strategies invoices in there that were then shown on campaign finance reports. Were they plussed up to your recollection on any of those campaign finance reports?
Those in particular most likely would not have been because of the sales tax provision.
Okay.
So it would have been the responsibility of the end user, the person selling the product, to add the 7.25.
But you submitted those invoices, when you had invoices for things like expenses and so forth, as I recall, those were printing invoices, is that your recollection? Okay. You submitted them to JPL and Associates or to Constant Content?
I'm not sure. One of the two, certainly. I want to say Constant Contact, but I'd have to see them.
Okay. So, but your recollection is those invoices were not plussed up? There was no
My
plus up
invoices would not have been plussed up.
You made reference to working on a monthly retainer. What was your relationship, what was your contractual agreement with JPL and Associates? That you would be paid on a monthly retainer or some other method of payment?
I was on a monthly amount.
So you're on a monthly amount?
Correct.
When you have done your consulting work with other people, like you mentioned county commissioners and stuff like this, have you ever charged them a monthly retainer?
No, rarely could they afford it.
So you've never charged another candidate a monthly retainer?
I'm sure I have at some point, but rarely county candidates. I know some of my former colleagues in the business did, for example, a few in Cincinnati.
Okay. My wife did work for you doing some mailers, is that correct?
It is.
At some point in time, doing the design work for them. Are you aware of how she was compensated?
I would have written her or her company a check.
Okay. And then you would have invoiced for that to the candidates to which those mail pieces were being created?
I would have marked up her invoice and made it part of a package. So messaging, design, print, spray, USPS drop off.
Are you, let's look at exhibit 11, the one that Mr. O'Brien directed you to. It has a $164,000 invoice.
Okay.
And then he has these exhibits 11A and B,
Okay.
which are his. Have you ever seen those before now?
It is likely that I see number 11 on the left of 164, but I can't point to a specific.
I specifically asked about 11A and B.
I don't remember seeing A or B.
Okay. Have you testified before in hearings that you were never asked anything by JPL or Constant Content pursuant to how to allocate your time?
Correct.
Okay, or how to allocate the money involved with your time? Is that a correct statement?
Correct.
Okay, the 11A and B, have you ever seen, if I represented to you that these are documents that Mr. O'Brien created, would you have any reason to object to that, or would Mr. O'Brien object to that?
No.
Okay. Have you ever seen any documents like that from Constant Content or from JPL or from Anna Lippincott or from anybody associated with the 2020 campaign, primary campaign?
You mean this simple document?
Something showing this kind of analysis of how things were marked up.
No. But sure, typically you don't show the client what the markup is.
Okay, so so the clients don't want to see the underlying invoices? So
They don't, that's just not how it works. They get an invoice.
So in my personal experience as a consultant and non-political, people always wanted to see the underlying invoices. There may have been an upcharge, like in the IBM Corporation, we put 10% upcharges with a standard upcharge on invoices that were being passed through. Your clients don't ever want to see the underlying invoices?
I have never had a candidate ask me, hey, they obviously know I'm making money, or my company's making money. I've never had them ask me for a breakdown. And even if they did, I don't know that I would. I mean, if they want to know that kind of information, they can go find another consultant.
So when you were, Churn Creek Consulting was working for JPL and Associates in the 2020 campaign, why then did you submit underlying invoices in the Allen Freeman matter? If nobody ever asked for underlying invoices, why were you submitting underlying invoices in that matter?
So those particular invoices, I believe as I testified in 2021, were for specific printed products. Mr. Freeman was not my client. Mr. Freeman was another firm's client. And so I had my cost for those, and that, JPL Constant Content would have needed to do the proper markup and the sales tax.
Did you ever provide an in-kind statement to any candidate that you worked with for the billing of your time?
There would have been no reason to,
Why not?
because they were paying for a service as part of the product.
Who were they paying?
They were either paying JPL or Constant Contact.
Well, have you ever seen any invoices of a candidate getting an invoice from JPL and Associates in this matter or any other?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen one.
So in this matter, Schmidt, if you look at exhibit 11, it's the $164,000 invoice, and exhibit, maybe B or C, it relates the what was the $39,000 invoice. I guess was there any invoice that you see in any of this case that's from JPL and Associates to anybody?
I would need some time to review the book, but if you say it is here, I'll take your word for it.
Okay. So when you had, what contractual relationship did you have with Constant Contact?
I was brought on to take care of house races or advise on house races south of Interstate 70.
So your previous testimony is that JPL and Associates hired you to do that, not Constant Contact. Are you refuting your prior testimony?
Ask the question again. I mean, it was JPL, Constant Contact. To me, it was.
Well, you
virtually one and the same. They
testified
had the same
previously that
principles.
specifically you worked for JPL and Associates. You were paid by JPL and Associates. You had a
Correct.
contractual agreement with JPL and Associates. And I just asked, what contractual relationship did you have with Constant Contact?
I didn't have a contractual relationship with Constant Contact.
So how would you know that your services were going to be theoretically, based on Mr. O'Brien's creating his own exhibits, somehow
Object to
plussed
the
up or
reference,
rebuilt?
to the
Sustained.
By what basis would you assume, without you providing an in-kind report or something like that, would you have assumed that your services were going to be in some way rebuilt?
Well, I don't understand why they wouldn't have been.
So why would they have been? You said you worked for JPL and Associates, you were being compensated, you were working for various candidates. In concept, without no connection with that in Constant Contact, you would have had an obligation under the law to provide in-kind reporting to those candidates for your compensated time. Why would you not do that? Or what would you, you're the one who testified that that's what you need to do. is
I
provide a
disagree
report.
with you. The companies, whether it be Constant Contact or JPL, have the same principles. They are one and the same as far as I know. I don't know what the contractual relationship between Constant Contact and JPL would have been.
Do you have any personal knowledge of some sort of scheme that involved rebilling your time? Any personal knowledge
I'm not going to answer a question with the word scheme in it.
of any sort of arrangement, any document,
I'm not
any
aware.
discussion that you had, any of that? Are you aware of any of that?
I'm not aware.
Okay. So if you look at the Exhibit 11, and I want to just use the round numbers. This is, I'm sorry, for being unclear. This is Respondent Exhibit 11. The invoice, you would agree the invoice amount that nobody seems to be disputing on that one, which was paid by Ms. Schmidt, was $164,334.
First page?
Yeah,
Or-
Exhibit 11, it says,
Yeah.
yeah, so the one that says 11
Correct.
doesn't have none. So $164,334. And would you agree that 10% of that is roughly $16,000?
Correct.
Okay. And then the other exhibit, which I think is exhibit, it's exhibit. It's exhibit. Well, in my book, it's under the 723. Oh, yeah, it's part of exhibit A. Get confused on which is it's part of the 723 exhibit, but exhibit A, that's the 30, it's like the third page of it, the $39,000 exhibit. You would agree that, define that exhibit.
This one?
Yeah, if it says 39,000 at the bottom?
Yes.
It's, okay, so would you agree that 10% of that is 3.9 thousand?
Yes.
Okay, and if you add up, if we just round that up to 4,000 for government work, if you add up 16,000 plus 4,000, you'd agree that's 20,000?
Yes.
Okay. So are you aware of it being a common practice in the rebilling of invoices for 10% to just be added as a profit margin? Are you aware of that being common practice? Or?
In political accounts?
I think basically in anything involving advertising.
Yeah, I think 10% is, I think it fluctuates, but 10% is a fair number.
And you would agree that would you agree or disagree that campaigns that do just media and don't have field people to be campaign managers and door knockers and all that kind of stuff, that it would be somewhat customary that if just doing media type things, there would be a 10% markup?
Just television or?
Television and
radio?
mailers and stuff like that.
So are you asking me about broadcast?
Let me withdraw and ask you to ask it more clearly. So you've testified as already just today that you had no involvement or no formal involvement with any sort of creative work or approval of mailers, which are in particular focus here. You know, there's media stuff too that's part of the 164. So that you weren't involved in that, in the mailer process, okay? If, you know, but you were doing, well, what were you doing then? If you weren't involved in the mailer process, what were your day-to-day activities related to the Schmidt campaign?
Strategy, talking to the candidate, making sure everything was, the trains were running on time.
What about going to events or anything like that?
I object at this point, Madam Chair. This is redirect, I believe, and it's outside the scope of it. And I think we've had Mr. Caraway testify in detail about it.
That has been, you've already gone over.
Mr. O'Brien made a lot of assertions as to Mr. Caraway's expertise and experience and that he was tied with these invoices. So I think I'm at liberty to explore the connections and what connections any work he did was with the invoices, because that's what Mr. O'Brien just had him answer questions about.
Ask those questions.
I think I was asking those questions.
You seem to be going down, asking to repeat responses that he gave earlier.
Okay, I don't agree, but all right. In what way?
Because he's been responding about what the nature of his general activity has been.
So I think I'm asking questions still to clarify, because some of his answers to Mr. O'Brien were inconsistent with some of the prior answers he's given. So I just want to make sure to have clear on the record what were the right answers. So he just previously today testified he didn't have any involvement with mailers. And then we heard a testimony that somehow he was involved with billings and rebillings of mailers. That he was somehow within those
I don't
activities.
recall hearing any comments about him being involved in rebillings and mailers.
That his services were involved in the rebilling, it were rebilled for, it varied in prices for mailers.
I might say that was other clients, I believe, the test.
I don't recall him saying he had any rebilling with mailers.
That he was rebilled within the bills for mailers. His services were being rebilled, buried within the bills for mailers. That's what I'm asking about.
Okay, ask that then, because I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm asking, I apologize for being redundant, okay, if this is redundant, but just to be clear, you have no personal knowledge or evidence you can provide that there was ever an arrangement involving rebilling your field services costs that had nothing to do with mailers in bills for mailers.
So, repeat the question, I'm sorry.
Do you have any personal knowledge that in any way or any evidence that would show that your time for doing field services unrelated to mailers was somehow rebilled within mailer invoices to Ms. Schmidt?
I don't have personal knowledge.
Okay, so on Exhibit A, the 39,122 invoice,
Okay.
if you also look at Exhibit C, should just be a couple pages ahead, and that's what was actually paid for that invoice.
Okay.
20,260.
Yes.
Okay, so that would you agree that difference is? I don't want to. That difference is about 20,000.
Correct.
I mean, it's less than 20,000, but it's about 20,000. What's 10% of 20,000?
Couple grand.
Okay, so if you were actually for real, somehow being rebuilt in bills for mailers, what happened to that 2,000? Would you speculate as to what happened with the $2,000 of that was written off or what have you?
I'm object asking a witness to speculate.
Do you have any personal knowledge of what would have how that 2,000 that is taken out there of the 10% would have been otherwise rebilled to Ms. Schmidt?
I am aware of how the invoice went from 39,122 to 20,260. But I guess I'm missing the premise of your question on $2,000.
So if you were, let me clarify and then get to a quick question. So if Ms. Schmidt was billed roughly 40,000, I know I'm rounding up, so just for simplicity, and paid 20,000, and if somehow commingled in those bills were field services like, you know, campaign strategy and stuff like this, that would mean that $2,000 was never rebilled because it was written off. Is that correct?
Jack, the whole question is premised on speculation and something the witness has already testified about. He was not involved in the
It certainly sounds like a lot of speculation when it comes right down to it.
So would
You
you,
asked something that would be more direct based on personal knowledge.
okay, so as I did, I said, based on personal knowledge, would you know what happened to the $2,000 that would have been part of the 10% markup?
I don't know, and I'm certain that Representative Schmidt wouldn't have known because she paid the bills that were sent to her.
Okay. You said in your testimony that you talked with Ms. Schmidt about these invoices and these matters, you did testify, to be fair, not until after my complaint, that before that you had not. Would you agree that that was your testimony?
Correct.
After my complaint, and when you did talk to Ms. Schmidt about the invoices and the $39,000 invoice, did you ever talk about that somehow that invoice contained billing for you?
No, we talked about the inconsistent nature of all of the bills and the fact that many across the state of Ohio were incorrect, and that we had asked for Goldstein collectively as the House campaign arm to prove that services were rendered. That was the premise of my discussions with Representative Schmidt.
Okay. And then I think the last thing is Mr. O'Brien is trying to make the case that you were somehow rebilled in the billings for mailers.
I'm going to object that characterization of what I said as a mistake in the question.
It's a state, I don't think he said that.
I think he had an exhibit and he walked through that was what he was saying was the case. Mr. O'Brien made an exhibit
I was
making that case.
Radio production, radio time, TV time. I don't believe mailers were included on that, Mr. Hicks. If we look at 11A and 11B.
Okay, so I stand corrected that the speculation by Mr. O'Brien was specific to TV time, TV and radio production.
Object to move to strike the word speculation. It's a mathematical equation based on fact.
The speculation part is that he was somehow included within that mathematical equation. That's the speculation, not that 10% is 10% or 12% is 12%.
That was his testimony, that's not my speculation.
His testimony was as to the percent. So again, do you have any personal knowledge? I see, this is why I don't mean to be redundant. That's why I was doing it again. Do you have any personal knowledge of that you were somehow incorporated within a 10% markup rebill for your Churn Creek consulting services that were being billed that were being compensated by JPL and Associates? Do you have any personal knowledge of that?
I do not. However, it would be reasonable to believe that.
Okay, but you have no.
Correct.
No, okay. Do you have any evidence of that? Any contract you had with them? Anything in writing that would say that that was or happening or would happen?
No.
So did it ever cross your mind that there could be an in-kind issue where you needed, when JP&L was paying you that you needed to somehow send in-kind notices?
No, it did not.
If there was testimony about in-kind, if a person did work and was compensated, like say somebody paid, let's say you were running for some office and somebody paid me to go door knocking for you, and I did not send you a thing, but you are aware of that, you are aware that somebody paid me, do you have an obligation then, if your understanding of campaign law, that you have an obligation to ascertain what should be billed, what should be shown as an in-kind? Or you can just, or you don't have any obligation to do that even if you're aware of the
You have
activity?
reasonable expectations to try and ascertain. In this case, the campaign committee had paid tens of thousands of dollars for services, so there wouldn't have been any reason to ask, in my humble
Okay.
opinion.
So I think the very last thing related directly to what Mr. O'Brien asked is he directed you to look at exhibit 11G, and I'll direct you to look at that as well.
Says in the back.
Yeah, it's the what you were looking at when he was, it says emails.
Oh, okay.
Was,
Wait, hold it just a second, please.
it's gonna be the ones that have his exhibit tags look very different than mine, so it's gonna be towards the back in that last tab, 11G.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
we're getting close, I think. It's almost at the very end, Steve, like the
Okay.
last 3-4
Okay,
pages.
all right. Okay, oh, this email?
Yeah, but it starts on the page before that. It's like just on the very bottom of the page
Okay,
before.
I see it.
So who did RJ Mancini work for, to your knowledge, to your personal knowledge?
I am now aware that you work for the Ohio Republican Party.
I mean, in the field, when you were,
I'm sorry.
you know, you testified, he was involved in some
Yeah.
meetings on campaigns and stuff
Sure.
with you. Who was he working for from a candidate perspective?
He was assigned to Mr. Freeman.
Okay, and you would say that he spent a significant percentage of his time with Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Do you believe, by personal knowledge, did he spend some of his time on work for Ms. Schmidt?
I am aware of that, yes.
Okay, so if you look at, actually, the second page of that email, I told you to start on another one, is, do you see Mr. Freeman's name on that list of candidates?
No,
So why would that be, do you think, that neither Mr. Schmidt, Ms. Schmidt or Mr. Freeman is in that list? Especially Mr. Freeman.
correct. I have no idea why Ms. Lippincott wouldn't have included.
So would you say that that list is inaccurate in that, in not including Mr. Freeman?
Well, I'm not sure, based upon, you know, had Ms. Lippincott already given, and we now know that she had not, but had she already given additional names to Susan Jones? So his name obviously isn't on here.
So I'd say that would be, for example, that would be speculation on your part that there could have been another note that had Freeman's name in it?
Yeah, so he's not on.
And if there were, couldn't that other note have had Schmidt's name in it?
It could have.
Okay. So are you aware that Mr. Mancini was being compensated by the Ohio Republican Party?
I am now, yes.
Okay. And would you believe that he should have been in-kinded to Mr. Freeman and Ms. Schmidt for the time that he spent with them?
Certainly, at the very least, Mr. Freeman, I do believe that Representative Schmidt would have relied on someone to tell her, for example, Mr. Mancini, I think, knocked doors a couple of times for Schmidt for Ohio. If they were part of group deployments, the representative wouldn't have had any idea who all of the young people are. So certainly if it would have been reported to her, she would have filed it. But
But that would be speculative on your point. part. If she had done it, what she would have done, you don't
Sure, but
personally
it
know.
would be speculative for her to have guessed on a campaign finance report too, right?
So did you at any point in time when looking at these invoices, being, aware of Mr. Mancini's work and the belief that the high percent was with Freeman and the small percent was with Schmidt, did you ever advise Ms. Schmidt, being her confidant, that she should go try to ascertain from Mr. Mancini what she should have been in kind for him?
So we did, Mr. Mancini and I did have brief conversations about it. He could not remember how many days, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the case, nor day parts, or what. So there was no concrete number that she would have been able to place on a campaign finance report.
Do you think it could have been as high as 2-3 days?
I'm not sure, whatever Mr. Mancini's testified here.
Okay. But you're saying when you talked to him about it, he claimed to you he couldn't figure out within none to 2-3 days, he was unable to
Right.
ascertain.
He was certain that he had knocked on some doors for Representative Schmidt.
Okay. Did you ever advise him that he should report something to Mr. Freeman?
So,
Jack, a question regarding Mr. Freeman. Again, I think this case involves candidate Schmidt.
Sustained.
I think this case, he brought in this list of
Sustained.
candidates. I'm asking about the list of candidates, and those will be not on the list. Okay, Mr. O'Brien tried to maintain that this was a definitive list of candidates. I'm asking questions about the certainty or accuracy of this list of
You
candidates.
started to ask questions about Mr. Freeman and what should have been done as it relates to Mr. Freeman and in time. And that wasn't a part of Mr. O'Brien's testimony or questioning, and so I sustained his motion.
Okay, I think the question I just asked was, did you ever ask Mr. Schmidt that she should ascertain this?
No, your question was concerning whether whether he advised Mr. Mancini to talk to Mr. Freeman. And that wasn't a part of cross-examination.
Okay, did you ever, I think he's already answered that he didn't ask, would you agree he didn't ask Ms. Schmidt to do that? To try to ascertain a number?
What do you mean, ask Ms. Schmidt to do what?
To ascertain a number as to how much should be shown as in kind for RJ Mancini. Is that your testimony, that you did not at any point in time advise Ms. Schmidt that she should try to ascertain a number to report for RJ Mancini?
I don't believe so.
Okay, that's the question. I have no further questions.
I may just ask one or two about these mailers. Is there an upcharge on mailers per piece or item?
It depends. Some mail vendors add a couple of pennies. I, personally speaking, generally added an upfront fee as part of the package, but yes.
Thank you. Quick redirect, and you just said you typically added an upfront fee. So that was separate from the actual cost of the mailings?
It was
production?
built into the price of the piece of mail.
But if you had an upfront fee, but the scope, size, and potentially number of mailers was not yet determined, how would you know how to allocate that upfront fee?
Based on, really based on the size of the project.
There
are a lot of variables.
I just want to make sure you understand my question. If you said you built in an upfront fee, say you were working with me and I was running for some office, you built in an upfront fee. If I did 2 mailers, even if you thought the scope was 2 mailers, and I did 4,000 versus 5,000 residents, the price for those mailers would be different. So how would you know how to allocate the upfront fee to mailers when the price of the mailers is based on the ultimate distribution list you use for the mailers?
I'm the company, I get to charge what I want. You can choose to buy from me or not.
I want to just real quick, I think it's the last question. to look at 11G again, oh no, I'm sorry, not 11G, A, is it A? So it's under the tab that says 723 currently.
Which one?
It's the one, the invoice, the $39,000 invoice.
Okay.
So I think you see a bunch of line items there. One, the third line item down.